think it's time we find some patterns for the boys. What's up everyone? My name is Charlotte, also known as Every Stitch Counts, and I am based out of the Seattle, Washington area, and I love to knit. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy to meet you, and I hope you like this kind of video. If you do, drop a like, comment, and consider subscribing. I do lots of vlogs, pattern dumps, and knitting podcast style videos. Today, we are gonna be going through another pattern dump. I love doing these videos. I love scouring through all of the different patterns and collecting my favorite ones. And I like to have a centralized theme when I'm doing this. And today, our centralized theme is men. I think everyone would collectively agree that knitting as a hobby, activity, and community is very heavily skewed towards women. There are just infinitely more women who participate and design for the hobby. And it's very obvious when you are looking on Ravelry. You know, there's like 20,000 women's sweater patterns, depending on how you search for patterns, as compared to the 1,000 men's patterns. Now, might sound like a lot of patterns, but there actually are just way fewer male knitting patterns or patterns that are designed specifically for men. And I'm here to show you the best ones today so that you don't have to go digging. In no particular order, I am gonna go through 12 knitting patterns that I think are totally chic. Men's knitwear patterns is just not common. It's not something that I see a lot of. Some of the bigger designers like Petite Knit, My Favorite Things Knitwear, a lot of them have men's patterns, but obviously there's just fewer men knitting for themselves, and there's a much smaller percentage of the women who are knitting who are making, I guess, male-sized things. So obviously I think there's just not as much market demand for male knitting patterns, but I've been seeing a lot of the boys pick up the needles recently. I see more and more boys knitting on Instagram every day. I'm totally here for it. If you're a guy and you want some great knitting patterns to get started, or if you're a girly who wants to make something that just has a more masculine fit or for one of the men in your life, then this video is for you. Up first, we have the Dagmar zipper Sweater Man by Petite Knit. This is a all over cable design sweater that features a tall neck, not quite a turtleneck, but a tall neck with a little half zipper on the front. It's a drop shoulder design that is worked from the top down, seamless, just like most of Petite Knit's patterns. There's a huge range of sizes. I believe there's 9 sizes if I read correctly. This is an Aran weight pattern, and in the original sample, it looks like she actually only holds 1 strand of yarn, which I quite like the idea of. I'm getting a little sick of every pattern being listing like 2 yarns because it just makes it so expensive. And when you're knitting, you know, male sizing, the assumption is going to be probably that you're going to be using more yardage for the sizing. So it's nice that it would be assumed to cost maybe a little bit less, or at least close to what it would be if you were to add like silk mohair to it. This pattern I think is incredibly classic. It's a little bit of a different take on a classic fisherman's crew neck. I do have one of those listed later, but I like that it's top down. I like that it's all over cable. The cables that are in it are actually pretty easy. It's just a honeycomb stitch, and then it looks like a diamond cable, which is a very easy cable to get used to doing. I just really liked this a lot, and I think it would look good on pretty much any guy. It also looks modern, which I appreciate. I found it really difficult looking through all of the men's knitwear patterns to find things that look modern and chic and like they're something you would buy from Ralph Lauren, which is what I'm looking for when I'm assessing knitwear patterns. I want it to be cool, I want it to be modern, and I want it to fit whoever it's being made for. And so I really tried to be selective with the patterns that I chose. And I think the Dagmar zipper Sweater Man is a great place to start. Up next, we are going for just a classic crew neck sweater, and this is very simple. Also a drop shoulder design. This is the Matteo sweatshirt by Woozy by Celine. Celine is a newer designer. She started on YouTube a couple years ago. She does vlogs. I watch almost all of her vlogs, and this is a sweater that she made for her brother. Really love it. I think it's actually one of the better fitting just stockinette sweaters that didn't come from Petite Knit. And it was obviously specifically designed for a man, which I appreciate. The original sample has a 1x1 folded over collar, which I really like. A lot of the other photos, it looks like she's changed the collar potentially. Looks like it's just a stockinette collar that's been folded double to create the neckline and the hemming of the sweater. Both are fine. I'm not sure in the actual pattern if she gives you an option for how to finish the sweater with the neckline and the hem. But either way, that would be a really easy adjustment if you don't like the stockinette finishing. I personally am a fan of a 1x1 rib. I think it looks more classic and I think it looks better. This is also an Aran weight pattern, and it also comes in a very wide range of sizes, so very size inclusive. It was released pretty recently, so it's exciting to be talking about it. I think Celine is a great designer and she has really excellent taste, and she's just kind of getting started. So if you are looking for just a beginner-friendly, super simple, but very classic, timeless, well-fitting men's sweater, I think this would be an excellent place to start. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this sweater is just the details of it. I really like how she did the shaping for the neckline. It looks very intentional, but very subtle. It just looks very expensive, I think. And I love the shaping on the back. I think the drop shoulder design and construction is inherently a bit more of a masculine shape, and it suits and looks really great on all of the guys who she has modeling it in her photos. Really, really great. Something with a lot of structure in the fabric would look really nice. I just loved all of the photos that I saw of this and would definitely recommend. Menton 2. This is by Megan Babine. We have two patterns by Megan that we're going to talk about, and this is a very classic fisherman's cable sweater. Now, Megan's patterns, I've not made any of them, but she has a lot of really great cable designs, and she is team seam, meaning that she knits all of her, or at least a lot of her cable designs, heavily cable designs, bottom up in pieces, and then she seams them together. I think this would be more in the camp of an adventurous knitter. So if you're wanting to make this for yourself and you're wanting to be adventurous and challenge yourself and really, I think, engage a bit more with the measurements of the fabric that you're making, then I think this would be an amazing pattern to start with. It is a raglan construction, and so you just knit the pieces and then you seam the whole thing together. Seaming does add a lot of structure and integrity to a garment, and so if you're going to be investing in a piece like this, something that would obviously be an heirloom quality piece, seaming is something that will add longevity and shape retention to your garment. So don't be scared of that. I would say grab the bull by the horns and do it for this sweater. I mean, the sweater is just amazing. These cables are definitely more complex, much more complex, I would say, than the petite knit cables. So a step up in skill, perhaps. I think she has this tagged as like intermediate advanced knitter, but I'm not a believer in the ratings of like what type of knitter you have to be. I think if you are committed to learning in the process and getting through it, anyone could make this. At the end of the day, cables is just pulling stitches and crossing them over one another. And if you can understand that concept, you can knit any cable and you can follow any chart of cables. It's also a all over cabled sweater that's a slightly different shape. So if you prefer, as a guy, that raglan shape opposed to the drop shoulder, this could be a great option for you. The raglan construction will tend to make the shoulders a bit narrower looking in appearance, whereas drop shoulder will make them appear a bit broader just because of where the lines and the fabric and the garment are. Take that as you will. If you have really broad shoulders and you want to pull away the attention from them, maybe the raglan construction would work better for you. And if you're in the latter camp and you want your shoulders to look broader, maybe the drop shoulder construction. This pattern is knit up in worsted weight yarn, and it also has a really wide range of sizes. I think all but maybe one or two has like more than 6 sizes, which I thought was really great. The next pattern by Megan is probably my favorite pattern. I don't know. There's some really good patterns in here. This is our first cardigan. It is the Eagle Island cardigan. This is so cool. It is knit up in worsted weight yarn. It is a zipper cardigan, so you add a zipper. It has all over, not quite all over, but it has a lot of color work, and it has these really awesome eagle motifs in the middle of it. It's technically a unisex pattern, but she hasn't modeled for a guy here. She says that it's knit back and forth in one piece, bottom up. So I'm not quite exactly sure how she does that, but the construction or the shape of the sweater is a classic set-in sleeve shape. So I'm not quite sure how she pieces all of it together, but you do knit back and forth. I don't know if that would mean you're knitting color work by purling. Not quite sure, so I don't want to say. But overall, I just think that this is something that I would see in, what's that one? Buck Mason? Yeah, Buck Mason. Whatever that company is. I feel like I would see this styled in the front of the window come fall time. It's just so cool. It's so timeless. Really great, thoughtful details. And I think the design of this is just not overwhelming. Like, it's not over-designed. Sometimes with these color work patterns, I think that there's just too much added. And sometimes it's nice to have the motifs just pulled back a little bit because it can be too much going on. This just looks so balanced. It looks so intentional. The eagles look really great, looks so timeless. It looks like something that you would make and just pass down and have forever. And what a cool, unique piece to make for a guy, or if you're a guy, for you to make, because a lot of the patterns that I was seeing for men were just, they were simple. They were the standard kind of you see them everywhere, the standard cable neck sweater or the standard stockinette sweater. And those are definitely the most popular, but this is just incredibly unique. I think if you're wanting a challenge and you want to make a cardigan that has a zipper where you sew a zipper on, do some color work, try a different construction, this would be a really great option. Rift by Jared Flood. I actually saw this pattern for the first time many, many years ago, and I really liked it. We're kind of back in the vein of standard crew neck sweater, but this one has really interesting details on it. It is technically, I think, a raglan construction, but it doesn't look like a straightforward raglan because of the details that they add to it. The body is worked circularly from the bottom up, and then the front and back are worked flat up to the shoulders. And then the sleeves are knit bottom up in the round, and then you break essentially and knit the rest of the shoulder and the finishing of the sleeve in the flat. And then I'm assuming you seam basically the entire top of the sweater together, which I think is really smart because I don't see much function in seaming the bottom portion of your sleeves and your body pieces because it's pretty much just straight yardage. So doing that all in the round makes it really fast and mindless. And then you can split and do the top portion in the flat and seam it all together. It has a rolled over hem, which is really interesting. And then the shoulder portion of this sweater is finished with 1x1 detailing. Kind of gives the effect of a saddle shoulder without it being a true saddle shoulder. I'm not sure exactly where the end or the top of the sleeve is because it looks like it combines elements of the raglan construction and a set-in sleeve, but I'm not totally sure. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen any garment that has that raglan seam and that raglan shaping, but then also uses set-in sleeve features. Like this has a very obvious seam for a set-in sleeve. I think it makes the fit really, really nice because you have those nice lines of the raglan, but you're not sacrificing maybe the broadness or how the width of the shoulders are going to appear with a true raglan. It's knit up in worsted weight yarn. There are 6 sizes for this one. It's also knit with 1 strand of yarn, which is very nice. It's very nice. Saves on a lot of the cost. Really great kind of step up from the Matteo sweater if you're wanting to do something that's mostly classic stockinette sweater, but bring up some of the design interest or the difficulty of the making process. This would be, I think, an amazing option. Next is Denali by Nora Gone. This is a mix, I would say, between a cable and stockinette sweater. There is cable paneling on the front and back of this sweater, but no cabling on the sleeves. This is also our first true saddle shoulder construction. It's knit up in worsted weight yarn, and there are 6 sizes available. This is also a sweater that is worked in the flat and then sewn together, and then the neckband is picked up at the end. I'm noticing that a lot of the sweaters designed for men are knit in the flat and then seamed. I'm not sure why that is exactly. I'm not against it. I understand that knitting in the flat and seaming is not as common nowadays, but I think it's really unfortunate because so obviously these are the ones, at least in my opinion, that I thought looked and fit the best, had the best designs, the best everything. And so many of them are seamed. So don't be scared by that. I would say go for it. Just go for it. I really loved this sweater a lot. It's also a nice way to do cables without it being all over cables. Sometimes you just don't want that look. Sometimes you want it to be a bit more toned down. This is a great way to do that. I believe this pattern also is a part of a magazine or some type of publication. It says you can buy it either just individually or you can purchase it with Brooklyn Tweed Men, Volume 2. So I believe this pattern was published through Brooklyn Tweed. This next one I'm super excited about because I think it just looks very modern. It looks like the type of sweaters that I see guys wearing just in Seattle on the street. I think it's really cool and definitely not one that I've ever seen. I've not seen anything like it, really. This is Reverso by Sasha Knits. It's knit up in worsted weight yarn. There are about 9 sizes. It's a classic crewneck sweater that has this really cool saddle shoulder detail. This is a ribbed pattern that's done in half brioche, so it's like a cross between brioche and just straight ribbing. So it looks like brioche. This sweater is knit from the top down, and so you're doing those saddle shoulder increases starting from the top, and then you're coming down and it's adding a little bit more definition and shaping to the shoulders, kind of like a set-in sleeve would, but you have saddle piece across the top, and then you're knitting the rest of the body and the arms, from the top down. So this is definitely more the construction that I think people are accustomed to. I just loved the fit of the one I saw, and I think the details of the brioche and the saddle shoulder and the shaping around the neck, it just makes it look very structural and very geometric. The details around the neck and the shoulder, it just really stands out because of that pattern and those stitches. I think it's really classic. I think it's really timeless, but also something that I feel like I would see in a Uniqlo shop, and I would see people wearing stuff like this today. This is an amazing layering piece because it's simple, it's timeless, but it has more texture going on that isn't a cable. Not every person is going to be into intense cabling. So this is a great way to bring some texture and interesting elements into your sweater without it always being cables. Next, we have another cable design. I know there's been a lot of cables, but I also, I picked out things that I would like to see men in also. I am just a girl. Diamond Aran sweater by Hello High Life. This is a bulky weight pattern. So knits up very bulky. It's an all over cable sweater. It's knit from the top down and it is a drop shoulder construction. Now this has very big chunky cables on it with moss stitch. It even has some bobbles on it. It technically says that it's a female knitting pattern, but I've seen several men who have made this on Instagram and it fits great. I mean, this is a drop shoulder construction. It's pretty unisex, I would say. I would definitely feel comfortable making this for a guy or recommending that a guy make this. I really like the neckline on this pattern. It's 2x2 rib that's folded underneath. So it has this really big kind of chunky collar on it. The pattern pictures can be a bit deceiving because I don't know that she blocked it. She makes a comment in the write-up that she actually enjoys it not blocked fully because blocking it kind of flattens the bumpy cables out, and she liked that effect. You could feel free to block it, steam it, do whatever you want. It is very, very textured. The most textured cable sweater I think we've seen so far, but I really liked this. This is a Japanese designer. I love a cable sweater and I will never stop recommending cable sweaters. I really have been itching to make another one. All right, this next one I'm so excited about because I think it's so cool. This is our second colorwork sweater. This is a top-down yoked sweater by Hillesvåg. They're a Finnish yarn company, I believe. They also produce knitting patterns. Now, I have both the actual website and the Ravelry page for this pattern linked in the description. You have to purchase the pattern via the website, and it's all not in English. So look at the measurements and find what size you'd be. You can purchase this pattern in a masculine fit or in a feminine fit. So you just have to make sure that you're purchasing the right fit and design. I love the shape of this. I mean, there's not a ton of shape to it, I would say. It's got all over color work. Starts from the top down. It has a really thick, structured, fold over 1x1 collar. Have more intense or more contrasted color work at the top. This is our first true yoke construction. So there's no seam lines anywhere. It's just one big circle that you're knitting from the top down, and then you split for sleeves. It's great. It looks great on both the guy and the girl in the photos. Also, I don't know how to describe it, but this color work to me just looks, again, very modern, but it looks a little bit more toned down. Like, it looks like something I wouldn't expect someone to have made. It looks like something like a cross between an Icelandic sweater and Fair Isle. I don't know how to put my finger on it. I just really loved the end result of this sweater, and I think seeing it on the guy in the modeled photo just really sold it for me. I would love to see some guys in this sweater. And let's be honest, that's how I'm judging most of these. Like, would I want to see someone wearing this? And I'd really like to see someone wearing that. Up next, wouldn't you know, there's more cables. I just love cables, okay? I really love cables. This is another cardigan. This is the Sulo cardigan by Ronja Hakiledo. All over cables. It's a cardigan. It has a folded over V-neck collar, so very unique. Not a detail that we've seen so far in the mix of the patterns that we have going on here. Knit up in DK weight yarn. This one had the least amount of sizes. This one had 5 sizes, so not the best for size inclusion if you're looking for that to be a key feature of like all patterns that you buy. This one's probably not going to fit into that. Still a decent range of sizes. It looks like it was published in 2021. As far as I can tell, the construction of this is knit seamless. So it looks like you're knitting down to the armhole seam, splitting, finishing the sleeves and the body, and then you're picking up and adding the shawl folded over collar at the end. And then you finish with buttons and all your other details. I like that this is a cardigan, cabled cardigan that is not Aran weight. It's only DK weight, so a bit more of a mid-weight fabric in the end. Not going to be too heavy, not going to be too bulky. Also, I love how it fits the guy in this photo. It fits very oversized, very slouchy. It has a nice amount of ease, but he's not like drowning in it. I just think this is a really versatile piece of clothing and very fashionable, very unique, very timeless. I really love this. This feels to me like something that I would see in like a Ralph Lauren magazine. And a fun note, this pattern is available for free. So there's a link on her Ravelry page where you can find the pattern for free. Something like this might seem a bit intimidating. Maybe you just want to look at the pattern and see if it's something that you'd want to make, and rather than needing to commit to purchase it, seems that she's released it for free. Not sure why, but definitely is something that I could see myself making in the future. All right, the last 2 patterns that I have are 2 summer patterns. I wanted to include 2 summer patterns because one, I see almost none that I would actually recommend for a guy to make or wear. And so the 2 that I found, I really genuinely liked, and so I wanted to share them. One of them is a free pattern that I've actually already mentioned, but wanted to talk about it again because I just think it's that good. This is the Slatter Tee by Steen Holgaard Johansen. Free pattern, it's a sport weight knit t-shirt that is knit from the top down with a saddle shoulder and folded over stockinette neckline and hem and finishings on the arms. I think it's very beautiful for its details. It fits very well. It has that saddle shoulder, so it has some more structure to the top. It's not a raglan, so it doesn't slim or narrow his shoulders at all. And I think that the details just really make it look expensive and super nice. When I see really simple patterns like this where it's just one stitch, it's all stockinette. I think it's all about the details and the finishing. It's so easy for simple stockinette patterns to just look half finished, or like they don't have nice edges on them, or you can see the bind off edge and it looks funny. Like it just looks homemade. And this with the folded over stockinette finishing and hems just makes it look like something you wouldn't have made. It looks like something someone would have bought. I'm just imagining this being made in like a cashmere t-shirt. How cool would that be? You could do this in linen, you could do this in wool, you could do it in really luxurious wool, really could do it in whatever you want, depending on the look and the drape that you want. I've even seen some guys layering really oversized t-shirts over top of button-up shirts and then wearing big jackets over them and just layering on a bunch of stuff. And that would also be a really cool way to wear and style this. That's more than just, oh, I'm gonna wear this t-shirt. You know, you could really, I think, layer it in a cool way to make it wearable for all seasons, which is great. All right, last but certainly not least, the Whiskey Sour by Maxim Sur. This is from Les Garçons and or Max the Knitter. And I've been seeing a lot of shirts like this, but they're all made in crochet. And this was the first one that I saw that was knitted that I really liked. This is a collared t-shirt with buttons in the front, so it fully opens, or you can keep it closed and buttoned. It's a raglan construction with, it looks like a double knitted collar. And I'm not sure the exact stitching that he has on the sweater itself. It looks to be a slightly more textured stockinette type of stitch. Does something in there that adds some all over texture, and it just looks very summery, very breezy. He has some really great details around the collar, and the button band has this really cool slopes on the top of the button band, so it's not bulky at the top. Overall, it just looks really nice on him. The hems of this top, very professionally done. They don't look haphazard at all. You don't see any bind off edges. Like this just looks like all the edges and the seams are hidden on the hem, which makes it look so finished and so high end. This one is knit flat with raglan sleeves. Looks like you use an invisible cast on to knit this kind of fake double knitted collar. So I guess it's not true double knitted. And then you do short rows to work in the collar at the start of the body, and then you lengthen the back. And then the button band is added at the very end. He knit up his sample in cotton, looks like, and silk. A blend of it. Looks like he knit his sample up in a blend of a lot of different stuff. There's cotton, silk, alpaca, and a little bit of linen in the yarn that he chose. I'm sure he sells a version of this or has sold a version of this yarn. Obviously, it's like a very drapey, nice, but soft t-shirt, and I loved it. I thought it was designed really beautifully, and it would look great on a lot of different guys. I've, again, have been seeing these types of knitted tops or crochet tops come totally back into style for men's clothing. It's everywhere. Uniqlo has shirts like this all the time that I see. And I see guys just out and about in Seattle wearing stuff like this, especially in the summertime. Really, really love it. I just think it's great. Those are the 12 men's knitwear patterns that I was able to pull for you guys. I did have a couple of honorable mention websites that I was going to mention. Pretty much anything from the Eastex Icelandic yarn website. They have a ton of great colorwork patterns and a ton of great menswear. I didn't list any of them because I just thought that these 12 were my favorites and the ones I wanted to talk about the most, but they did have a lot of really great menswear patterns if you're looking for just basic colorwork patterns in more rustic masculine yarns. And then anything from Sandnes Garn. I didn't list any of the Sandnes Garn's male knitting patterns, even though there are so many that I love, because in the US, it's incredibly hard to get Sandnes Garn patterns. I've realized you can't purchase them online through Sandnes Garn. You have to have like a dealer. So essentially you have to work with a local yarn shop that purchases from Sandnes Garn. It's basically just a huge hassle to get Sandnes Garn patterns. It is a tragedy that Sandnes Garn does not allow people out of the country to purchase digital patterns because there are really so many. So I only mention it to tell you that that is also a great resource for men's knitting patterns with really amazing, modern, beautiful, excellent fitting garments for men. If you're able to get those patterns, then you are blessed, and I'm so happy for you. But if you're not and you just want to get some inspiration and check them out, they're also great to check out. And maybe you can work with your local yarn shop to have them order some of those patterns for you when they do their next yarn shipment. With that, I'm gonna sign off for now. I hope that you liked this. I hope that it was helpful. I really love doing videos like this and putting together these resources. I wanted to do one for the boys, I have to say, and for the people who want to knit for the boys. And even if you're a girl and you want to make things that maybe are a bit more masculine fitting, I know that there are definitely times where I've bought coats and tops and pants that are from the men's section because sometimes they just fit better. And so if you're looking and wanting to even knit some of these patterns for yourself, a lot of them are marked unisex, and there's really no rules to what you make, who you make it for, how you modify it, and how you make it work for you. And I hope that you found this really helpful because that was the intention. I am gonna sign off for now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out, and let me know in the comments if you're gonna add any of these patterns to your queue, make them for anybody, or if you're a guy just looking for a collection of men's knitwear patterns to get started knitting. Let me know what you're gonna make down below. I would love to hear. I hope you're all getting to make everything that you want to make and do everything that you want to do. And I realized that I've been forgetting to say this, and so it's probably been a bad omen, but I'm gonna start saying it again. Stay classy. All right, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.